NBC's Julia Jester at the Capitol, where anticipation is building, and she's getting new information about the committee's witness list. Julia, we've heard another big player, Steve Bannon, could testify at some point. What are you learning?
So, Michael, I actually just learned what one of those witnesses on Tuesday, who that will be. Jason Van Tatenhove, a former spokesman for the Oath Keepers, will be testifying at Tuesday's hearing. Now, it's important to note that Van Tatenhove was not with the Oath Keepers or part of the organization on or around January 6th. He actually hasn't been since about 2017. But what he can provide, as he did in his testimony behind closed doors back in March, is the context of the Oath Keepers as this extremist group and the dangers that its propaganda and its radicalization have posed. So Van Tatenhove is expected to speak to the personal interactions he's had with Stewart Rhodes, who actually lived with him for a number of months, years prior. And so Van Tatenhove will be able to help bolster the committee's argument that these extremist groups are extremely dangerous, having worked with them as its national media director for a number of years. So he's going to help the committee thread together the messaging of President Trump and his allies leading up to and on January 6th with this parallel track of these extremist groups that essentially led part of the attack on the Capitol, the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. Take a listen to what Representative Stephanie Murphy said about this convergence and how the committee plans to address this in Tuesday's hearing.
We will lay out the body of evidence that we have that talks about how the president's tweet on the wee hours of December 19th of "Be There, Be Wild" was a siren call to these folks. And we'll talk in detail about what that caused them to do, how that caused them to organize, as well as who else was amplifying that message.
So messaging is a key part, both in how the groups like the Oath Keepers were using their own propaganda to raise money and grow in prominence, as well as President Trump and his allies using the messaging of a rigged election, and how all of these converge on January 6th. Now, as you mentioned, there are a lot of other factors at play ahead of these highly anticipating hearings this week. We have Steve Bannon, whose lawyer wrote a letter to the committee overnight saying that President Trump waived his executive privilege and therefore Bannon is willing to testify, in fact, prefers to testify publicly. It remains to be seen if the committee will agree to those terms, but I know that they do want to hear from Steve Bannon, as a number of the members said as much this morning. And then we are waiting to hear clips from Pat Cipolloni's testimony on Friday. Trump's former White House counsel met with the committee. He was there for about more than 8 hours, and so he has provided a lot of highly critical information to the committee. A committee spokesman telling NBC News that Cipolloni's testimony underscored Donald Trump's, quote, dereliction of duty, and also corroborated key elements of Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony. So a lot to pack into these hearings this week, Michael.
I can imagine. NBC's Julia Jester, thank you very much.